Guillaume, it's great to have you on Tech Check. Thanks for joining us. Given that setup, do you think that private markets are giving you not just a better price in terms of valuation, but better terms as well? You only had to hand out 2.5% of the company's shares for that $1 billion. And does that sort of make you push out plans to go public?
Hey, so first of all, thanks very much for having me. I think, the real question is, as a private company, our investors get to see all the numbers. So it's like, very different from the public company kind of setup. And the investors that have invested in the round at Checkout this time are all kind of public investors for the most part. So if they wanted to, invest in public comps with the liquidity that go, I think what the reason investors have decided to invest in Checkout is that we had an extraordinary year. We're gaining market share against both the incumbents and the new players. And I think this reflects in the valuation and the numbers we delivered last year. And if anything, we're super excited for the year that is coming because we have new products, more merchants than ever. I think, our press release was pretty clear that we service, the world's biggest company. And so if the investors are coming in the cap table, it's probably as a reflection of our performance.
That's a fair point in terms of the crossover funds. Now, you said in the past when you talk about your differentiation that Checkout.com is different from players like Stripe and Adyen because you capture more of the enterprise market. But don't they, especially Stripe, eventually go after that market? And how will you keep ahead, especially if Stripe plans to go public and that gives them more visibility with some of those enterprise players?
So first of all, yes, we're absolutely 100% enterprise focused. I think this is in our DNA and since the beginning. And then I think competition is a good thing for the internet and for consumers in the first place. Stripe, us, and Adyen, just to name them as well, we are just a breed of new players, but we're competing against the incumbents. And most of the volumes today are still sitting with JP Morgan Chase, with B of A, with a lot of incumbents that are sitting on old platforms. And if anything, competition is good for us. I think, with regards to us and our offering, there's three things that people choose Checkout from: price to quality and performance. I mean, we're really top tier there. Velocity of new features, because we really focus only on enterprise. And I think this is where the focus goes, is that we're not like, Henry Ford selling only black cars. We really go deep with our customers. We build meaningful relationships. And finally, service. If you have only 1,800 customers, all of them, and you give them extra mile service. And if you put all these things together, it has yielded great outcomes for Checkout, and we're going to keep going.
Guillaume, given that, what's your approach to developer relations, to deep engagement with them? It seems that if your focus is enterprise, having a better relationship, relatively speaking, than some of your competitors with developers in that class is going to be important. So what have you done? What do you plan to do to invest there?
So absolutely, developers are now key. I mean, the buyer in our space has changed completely. If you look at 5-7 years ago, the buyer would be basically in the CFO tree. He would think only about pricing. And if you look today, who's the buyer of a payment solution, he sits in the product tree. He's talking about, user experience, checkout conversions. And ultimately, it's all these decisions are led by product people, developers, and you have to cater to that audience. I think, our docs are super clean. We have sandboxes. You can test every single scenario. And again, in the US, there's only a few payment methods, but as soon as you go out of the US, you're going to have a lot of different payment methods. It's really secure in Europe, strong customer authentication. And being able to play with this in what we call a sandbox environments is a huge plus for developers. They can really try something before they buy. And I think it makes a big difference.